Ah, yes, it's an early live edition of the Old Guys Pod. After much discussion, we decided to come on when normally I think there would be some NBA games on, but everybody's voting right now, so the NBA decided to take the night off. Uncle T's not happy with Bijan Robinson. Who the fuck knows what's going on with JT's Survivor team? I guess he's going to tell us and let us know. I can't wait for that. And besides for that, it's a beautiful day here in Denver. It's about 70 degrees today. What's going on, Uncle T? Look at you in your Kentucky shirt, the worst team in the Champions Classic. We've got the number one Kansas Jayhawks. We've got Michigan State and Duke 2 and 4. Duke's 2, Michigan State 4. You guys are like, are you even ranked in Kentucky basketball? What a joke. You had
First
your
off,
time. It's over.
Good to be back with you guys. Hello, Mr. Yeezy in chat. Way to properly bring me in, Holden. You're already on delay. That's not a good start, unless it's me. Bijan Robinson. I had 0 Bijan Robinson. So no, that was our guy JSU had a rough take on our boy Bijan. But no, voting day today here in Kentucky and throughout the country and in some spots. So I got out and did my my duty and got out and voted. I have a flexible schedule, unlike someone else on the panel, but I'm not going to be mad at him for not being able to get out and vote. So JT Hayes.
JT, what'd you vote for today? Do you vote for anything? I vote for more swingers clubs here in town. What do you vote for?
You can always use more of those. I did get out and vote today. Number one. Number 2, Holden, it's good to see you. It's good to see Uncle T. And there was a measure on the ballot. It was a 1% special tax. And they had a list of things that they were allegedly going to do with this tax. I mean, just all sorts of beautification of roads and parks. And it's all lies, because I voted no, by the way, because more tax. I mean, I'm done with taxes. I don't want to pay any more taxes.
Fuck them.
They don't use the money that we give them now efficiently. I mean, you look at any report on any community, any city, any state, the federal government, the Government Accountability Office, and it's the government agencies waste almost every dollar that they take in. So my viewpoint is, no, manage this budget better, and then you won't have to continually ask me for another 1%, 1%, 1%, because now it's like, what are we up to in this country? I mean, many people are paying 46, 48% of their total income in taxes to various authorities. It's disgusting. So I went out and I voted no on that. We voted for a new mayor. It's a small little city here. I voted for, I don't know anything about any of the candidates. There were 4 of them. They didn't even put like Democrat or Republican next to their names. So I had seen that the former police chief of my city, who I know, had endorsed one of the candidates. So he got my vote. And I don't know what that's going to do for us. But then there were some other things about, and I was thinking of my guy, Uncle T, when I voted on this. They wanted to raise the homestead exemption for senior citizens from like a certain dollar amount. And I said, you know what? I'm friends with a lot of senior citizens, and I'm going to be one here myself pretty soon. So I'll go ahead and I'll vote yes on that. So that was my voting experience.
Well, I had a voting experience too. And by the way, for those of you that are new to the podcast, you can put this in the comment section. We don't talk football very much for the first 30 minutes. It just doesn't happen. We're old people. We don't have a chance to talk to old people, usually, unless it's our significant others. So it's nice for us just to BS and sit down. I also have a comment that I want to put up there in a second.
Yeah.
But things that I've
voting. You know who's not voting? I'm sorry to interrupt. You know who's not voting today?
Who?
Adam Ryder.
Let's just do it now. Let's do it right now. Now,
he's not voting today.
Picks are dog shit, not talking shit, dog shit picks. Can you go into that a little bit more, Adam? I would really love for you to go into, to write us a little novella, and I'll be happy to put it up here. And I'm not being a smartass. I'm being completely serious. Also, I have to get the right banner up here so it says that we are we are Run Pure Sports. Well, I mean, there you go. Doesn't that look better?
There we go.
So so Adam, please, dog shit picks, whatever they are, please let us know.
Yeah.
Really interested in finding out about that. I voted no to fixing roads because I just don't give a shit. Fuck the roads. We don't care. We can drive through potholes. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
There's better things. I voted yes to legalizing prostitution. I don't think that's going to pass, though. Somehow that got on the ballot. And then they want to put a McDonald's in my town, to which a lot of us are outraged. We don't want fast food restaurants. We don't want low-class citizens coming into our town and eating that dog shit picks. So no, I voted no to McDonald's. We don't want fast food here.
Outraged?
I'd say there was some outrage. Yeah, there's some outrage out there. No to McDonald's. No fast food in my hoity-toity town, buddy.
Was it from you?
Yeah, I said no McDonald's. I just told you that. Tumper number 1. What's a tumper, guys? I actually enjoy going back and forth with Adam. It's kind of fun.
I want to know. I have a question for Adam. Adam, it is, I don't know where you are. It's 6:10 on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, as we mentioned, no NBA, so you're not making your NBA team. Some people are making dinner for their families, just got in from work. Some people are taking their pets on walks. Some people maybe catching up on the news, talking to their children, maybe at the polls, as we talked about. Adam, what are you doing, or what do you not have to do that you could sit here at 6:10 Eastern on a random Tuesday night when we're not even scheduled to be on and talk nonsense? Tell us a little bit about your life, who hurt you, how it's been failing miserably, how you ended up watching and commenting on YouTube in such an angry way, because maybe we can help. Maybe we can help.
He DM'd me. He said he's on break from his drive-through duties at McDonald's, and he decided to harass us and allow somebody else to make the French fries, which is unfortunate because we do love our French fries, just not in my town, JT. I don't want French fries in my town.
Is he an Uber Eats driver? Is that what you're trying to infer?
No, I think he works at McDonald's, which is a great profession. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But definitely not in your town.
No, he's
over or under. Adam is 3 spins.
What?
300. I'm gonna say over.
300 pounds.
I didn't want to say pounds. I was just, he's clearly trolling.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
Leave the shit talking to me and JT. You're too nice. You're too nice. Like
he's trying to be mean.
300 spins. It's like, what are you? That Uncle T, you're the nice guy. Play your role, buddy. We love you. Everybody loves you. Let us tell the truth about young Adam Rydener, who thinks Humper number 1 is a thing.
Adam, honestly, fuck your family isn't strong enough. I need you to really bring it if you want to insult us. I need something more. I need you to embrace this role of the villain on the Old Guys pod and bring it a a more, because that's not cutting it.
That was worse than Uncle T. Uncle T's like 300 pounds. This guy's like, fuck your family. What's up with that?
Yeah.
I think we've given this guy way too much attention already.
I know, but it's fun.
People in chat. We got all of our regular guys in chat.
Yeah, we got Mardon Yeezy. And then we got to come up with an executive decision here, boys. Sup, geezers, I'm 38. I might actually qualify for that. I think you got.
You're a little young.
I think you got it. JT, 38. Is he an old guy yet? I don't think he's an old guy. I think his balls haven't dropped yet.
He's at least a couple of years away from the lower end of the qualification.
Yeah. Adam, people that work at McDonald's are not dog shit. You are dog shit. Your mom's dog shit, probably too. So as long as we're bringing families into that, your mom birthed a piece of dog shit. I'm so glad this show is live today. What else we got here? And Matt also wants to know about the Bengals. And did you put any money on the Cats from James? Uncle T, did you put any money on the Cats to win the title?
Yeah, I got them probably about a month ago. I bet them 22-1 to win the title. I think they're down to either 16 or 18. So, Holden, to your question about 10 minutes ago, before Adam tried to hijack our entrance of the show, is the Cats, I think, are ranked like 16th or 15th, something like that. They're not as highly ranked as your number 1 Kansas Jayhawks, but we play in a couple weeks. Might not be a good outcome for my guys, but I think at the end of the year, we got 3 7-footers that haven't played yet. So that's kind of hurting our front court a little bit. I think when them guys come back, especially Bradshaw, I think they're going to be pretty good. And as far as my Bengals, went down there to the game, on Sunday night. Place was electric. Burrow, just 100% difference from that Tennessee game. We were talking about it with some guys at the game that night. Just 100% different, as you guys clearly can see too. But that Tennessee game, he literally couldn't move in the pocket. And since then, a couple big wins in a row. Hey, we'll talk about it as we get through some of the DFS stuff here in a little bit. But, Tennessee put up a pretty big showing. Won Big T a lot of money, won a lot of our RPS members a lot of money with that core last week. But no, they're in good shape. 5-3. They're in the playoffs as of right now. So yeah, after a 1-3 start, I'm really happy about my Bengals.
I'm going to bring Adam back on the show. I know you don't want me to. My mom almost died of cancer. My dad almost died of cancer. 3 of my grandparents died from cancer. So go fuck yourself. That has nothing to do with this. Again, she birthed a piece of shit, and that piece of shit is you. Now, I'm not going to block you from the comments because I actually enjoy this. No, not yet. I love it when people talk shit. What's he going to do? What's he going to put in the chat there?
Well, my thing is, why would you log into a free show like JT said on a Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, nothing else going on? Why come in and just troll 3 guys that are going to sit here and talk some sports, have some fun for an hour? I don't get it.
Were you bullied into wearing because of your creamsicle orange hats?
He's got no orange on.
JT gave me a little hard time about my creamsicle outfit, so I haven't brought it in since week 6. So maybe I'll bring it out if the Bengals win a couple more games in a row.
Matt Burton, been meaning to ask Uncle T for months, but I forgot. Is that old WCW world title back there behind you on the golf bag? I love it.
That is the fantasy football championship belt I won last year. I'm the reigning champ, so that's where it's at right now. So, yes, sir. And after a week, how many weeks are we in? Is this week 11 or 10?
Who'd you beat in your league, though?
I don't want to talk about it. It's just a family league, but
exactly.
Big T is in there, and I did beat him. But no, I'm at the top. Hey, I'm at the top of the standings right now. Again, I'm looking to go back to back.
Big T shits on season-long fantasy football like we're shitting on Adam right now. So he doesn't like it. He doesn't think it's good. He thinks it's completely useless. So, but you actually beat like 7- and 9-year-olds to win your championship, and then you put it on your golf bag. So I'm impressed.
No, got to be adults. Got to be adults. They're a 16-team league too, Holden. Don't be trying to cut me short. Adam can't understand this. But Adam, turn your volume up a little bit.
I don't know what this means, lighting the cush up and enjoying the show. Rock on, fellas. Not sure what that means. Do you know what that means, Uncle T?
Positive.
I have no idea, but I appreciate my guy Badger DFS.
Yeah. Good evening, gents. I love the show, and I appreciate y'all's time. Well, you guys drop comments in there whenever. If you want us to talk about something, you know what? We're pretty open. We're old. We've probably been through it. We've probably seen it. We don't give a shit. So that's fine. Again, what are we, 15 minutes in the show almost? Another 15 minutes, and we'll get into the NFL portion of this show. No question about that. We do always talk about Survivor Pool for some reason now, and I don't know why, but I'm hoping this is the week that JT got booted from his Survivor League. Did it happen yet, JT?
No. Why would you think that?
God damn it.
That's so, I mean, first of all, that's hurtful. Second of all, no, I thought it was pretty easy. I got a question for Brandon when I'm done here, but okay. I thought it was a pretty easy week to just select the Saints and move on. It was closer than I wanted it to be, certainly. The Bears showed a little bit of a pulse there. This week looks almost like maybe the easiest week that you've ever had, unless you're planning for the future. And I haven't looked at the future schedule yet, but 2 teams stand out to me on this week, which is, week 10, I think. It's either going to be the Giants or Uncle T's Bengals here. Those are the 2 teams that I'm looking at right now for week 10. But no, Holden, much to your chagrin, I survived.
That sucks. How are you doing, Uncle T? I don't even remember how I did this weekend. Be perfectly honest with you. I'll have to go look.
I got two entries or whatever picks left. I had the Saints on one and Cleveland on the other. Obviously, Cleveland was pretty easy, like JT mentioned. I thought the Saints would be a little easier to get through than they did. But no, I'm going with the Bengals this week, and I actually have Dallas left. I'm going to go ahead and get them out of the way on my other team against B. Nair's Giants. Sorry, B. Nair. Appreciate the comment there a moment ago. JT and I looking pretty good, which is definitely true, but Holden, not so much. But, yeah, I'm going with the Bengals, JT, and Dallas.
And I got a question for Brandon. He was in the chat last night. We were doing the NBA Hardwood show. Always love it when he shows up because he's very entertaining. And I will say, Brandon, I want to know how that locking Marcus Sasser in 150 worked out, because we were not all for it. Then there was some late news, but I want to see how you did last night in the NBA streets, because a little tougher slate with a lot of that chalk busting. So tell us about it in the comments.
What's so funny?
Nothing.
Yeah.
If you're unable to see the comments, someone, it was not me, someone who's a moderator on this show.
I don't have access, so it wasnn't me. So by process of elimination.
You don't even know how to use the chat. That's the best part.
I don't get that. No, I'm just an intern here. I don't even get paid, I don't think.
Anyway, someone is alleging that Bean Air has a below the belt deformity.
Let me say this, Uncle T. This is just a personal story I'm going to share right now. Could be horrible. Don't really care.
Let me tell you, before you get started, is it 30 seconds or less, or can I use my bathroom break now? Or
you can definitely take a dump. This will be a dump story. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll wait.
Bring a newspaper. I'm sure you still use one. So back in 2019, Tony and I were working at a different website. I don't know why we never say the website, but I'm not going to say it just because nobody else says it. I like Roto Grinders. I love Dan Bach and all the other guys that are there. So we had a great time, and that's when I was introduced to Tony. In my old
website, by the way, was that the website?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I said it. I didn't mean to say it, but I said it. So, anyways. I had never talked to Tony before, Uncle T, and my computer had died. So I said, I need a new computer. What kind should I get? And Tony was the first one to respond. He says, you need a MacBook Pro. So I got a MacBook Pro, and like $3,000 later, it's a beautiful setup. It's great. Today, I turned on my MacBook Pro 4 years later. The damn thing is broken. I wonder, do these just last 4 years? Like, how long are these MacBooks supposed to last? Because I was hoping it'd last 5 to 7. It's done now. I'm using a computer that another place of employment gave me. Is it time to go back in the market and buy a MacBook Pro? JT, it seems like you have an opinion on this.
Yeah, I do. And it's the only real complaint I have with the Apple product. Well, there's two complaints I have with the Apple products, but the main one is this, that I don't want to say they're designed to quit after a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. But there is something to. So, for instance, my iPhone I've had for maybe 3.5, 4 years, maybe because I got it right around COVID, something like that. So it's 2023, and all of a sudden it just starts disconnecting from the cell tower. So I can connect to Wi-Fi, but calls I'm noticing won't come in and out. And I look, and boom, I've got no signal. There's no fix for that. The fix is it's time to come in, because coincidentally I'm getting messages about how much they're going to discount me on a new iPhone right now. Yeah. So obviously that's the plan. But I also have MacBooks and MacBook Pro, and the same thing happened to me. I had one maybe about 4.5, 5 years, because I didn't use it for work, right? I use it just for personal stuff, which became DFS full-time around 2015. And it just one day just would not charge, wouldn't power up. I actually had to go to a computer repair place to pull all the documents and stuff, the files I had off of it. The other thing, the other complaint that I have is, and no surprise, it doesn't work well with Microsoft Office, those products, which is what I basically use, Excel, stuff like that. It's got its own thing called Numbers. And I had an issue with DraftKings one time because a CSV didn't upload, and they're like, well, you're using this thing called Numbers. And I'm like, no, it's the same thing. And anyway, the bottom line is I love the product. Those are the two complaints that I have, but you're looking at a 4-year, maximum 5-year window on those Apple products.
It's over. So that's too bad for me. Shit happens. I'll have to deal with it and go spend another $3,000. Do not fade Apple, Scott Foster. I got in on Apple in 2008. That is basically my retirement account. So I need Apple to do well. I'm just not very pleased. But MacBook Pro really is, if you're broadcasting or streaming and stuff, that's the one you need. I mean, it really is. It's a great product. So
bad mojo from Scott Foster.
Yeah, bad mojo.
Holden, do you think all that porn that you look at there on that thing had anything to do with it crashing?
I've said this multiple times. I have a dedicated porn iPad. I have a dedicated porn iPad. I do not use a good computer for that. It's like an iPad 5. Okay. It still works, streams perfectly. But why am I going to do that and use my actual computer? That just doesn't make sense, Uncle T. Why
does your lady know that you surf?
She watches it with me, dude. What are you
Samantha,
talking
what's
about?
her name? Samantha?
Cassandra.
Yeah. He said Bambi.
Bambi.
That's right. Well, then that's a good thing, because you know that guy Tolbert from CNN. That's what he was doing. He was using his work computer for pleasure.
How dumb! What an amateur!
It just didn't go well. It just didn't go well.
Total amateur.
Yeah,
everybody knows you can't you watch porn on your work computer except for Uncle T.
I'm back on beating air side. That keyboard's probably a little sticky. You might not want to spray that thing in the dark.
JT, I know watches adult cinema because he made a comment maybe last show or a show before where he knew somebody that nobody else knew. And I don't even want to know what you use, to be honest with you. Don't want to know what you use. But you do know who Sandra Romaine is, I'm sure, because you're old.
No.
You don't know Sandra Romaine?
No.
Joe Kelly.
I've heard of him.
Joe Kelly.
That one I know.
I know Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly was my favorite back in the day. She was my first porn love, JT. Joe Kelly was my first porn love. Just absolutely. A lot of these guys that are so young, Brandon B-Mayor's talking about using VR headsets and shit. That's too much for me, man. I can't handle that. Can you imagine Uncle T in a VR headset? What that would look like?
I don't even know what he's talking about. Who was your 80s crush, Holden?
Well, we talked about it. It's what's her name? Well, Stevie Nicks. She was like she had a video, and she was just. I remember just being in bed dreaming of making out with her. Probably at about 7 years old, and then Raquel Welch was the other one. Yeah. Who was your girl in the 70s?
I just said that to see if you remembered. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. I didn't expect you to answer again.
I do. I remember that. Stevie Nicks was the best. You, on the other hand, I don't remember who you said you liked. It was probably
there was a couple out there.
What was the first porn you ever watched, Uncle T?
Jessica Simpson was always had a thing for her back in the day. I was back in the day.
Back in the day, that's like 20 years ago.
Was she in adult films?
Hold on, I'm only 43. I mean, how much longer could it have been?
You are 53. That is incorrect. You are 53, Uncle T.
No, I told you that.
Okay.
That chick in that White Snake video, she always got a
Connie
little.
there
was a little movement when I saw that video back in the day. Yeah,
absolutely, man, absolutely. I remember the first time I truly made out with a girl. I was 15, and a Paula Abdul video was on in the background. And I don't remember the song, but every time I hear it, it takes me back into the days of that day.
Were you at the movies? Where were you at 15?
I was at her house, and it was just sporadic. Testosterone hit me. She wasn't very good looking. She was the girl with the biggest boobs in school. I don't remember. I just know we made out, and I fondled her breasts from the outside, and that was that. You know,
I have
from the outside. You didn't get in.
Hold on, JT's got a good story. I feel like a good story's come from JT on this.
I do. You mentioned Raquel Welch, and I remember this. I was in kindergarten, and you know how you have these oak tag posters. So we had an assignment, and it was like 3 or 4 questions. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I had a picture of a baseball player. You cut them out of magazines and glue them on. This was, years ago because we're ancient. And there was one question. It was something like, what do you enjoy or something like that. And there was a ad in the magazine of Raquel Welch in a bikini. And I cut out the page with Raquel Welch in the bikini. And I put it on the oak tag to answer the question, what do you enjoy? And keep in mind, I'm in kindergarten. And obviously unsupervised by my parents, who were like, what, whatever, what are you doing? No questions, whatever. So I bring it to school. I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. Here you go. And the teacher was horrified, called my mother immediately. My mother had to come. And, of course, she's giving my mother the 3rd degree. Like, how could you let him do this? And my mother's like, well, we both work and we didn't see it. And the teacher hated me from that day on. So it was a tough year, the rest of kindergarten. But my parents knew early on they were going to have a special child. So there you go. I
love that. That is your teacher should have been happy with you. She was obviously a stiff, but you know what, JT, I thought I was going to get in trouble. Did you guys ever have a clean closet when you were growing up? You just throw all your shit in there.
Oh, my room was always
right.
a
Just you threw your shit in
I
there.
was the opposite. I'll take the other side. I've always been OCD.
I threw everything in my closet. But for those of you that are not familiar with JCPenney catalogs, it is the best. What do you mean this might be? Give me a break.
I was going to bring up the Sears catalog, JT.
Right?
Holden probably kept it. Each month they had the extra, the bonus issue or something of the Sears catalog. He probably kept them in his top drawer.
Well, no, that's the whole thing. So the JCPenney's catalog used to come. And for those of you who don't know what catalogs are, they have like everything at JCPenney's and you could order it from that. But they always had the women's section. So they had underwear, bras, and lingerie. What I used to do is cut it out. Right. I'd cut all the little things out and I put it in my closet. And this is, 7, 8 years old. Again, I cut it out. I put it in there. And then it was at the bottom of my closet. So my dad one day makes me clean out my closet and he starts doing it with me. And on the bottom, he finds it had to be at least 30 cutouts of women.
He starts doing what with you? What are you
breasts, cleaning out the closet.
Oh, okay. Well, you had me worried.
And I thought I was going to get in trouble. And my dad looked at all of them and then he looked at me and he goes,
"That's my boy."
And that was the end of it. And we never talked about it. I don't even know if he remembers it. I got to bring this up to him. I see him at Thanksgiving. He just let it go. Uncle T, did you ever have a good time with the Sears catalog?
I never cut anything out of any catalogs like you two guys did. I could tell you that. So Richie Small said he had a thing for Peg from Married with Children. That's an
Peg?
interesting one.
No, that's not Peg. The daughter was Christina Applegate.
I thought Christina Peg was the mom.
The mom is, but he said, "I love the daughter."
Oh, okay. Who? Oh, yeah. I thought he was talking about the mom. I was going to say I don't know about the mom, but the daughter was
pretty hot. What in that statement made you believe that he was speaking about the mother?
Well, I don't read real well. I'm old.
I can't read real his use of the word daughter.
Sorry about that, Richie. Actually, Richie brings up a great point. Put that last one up. He's exactly right. If we had phones and shit and easier access back in the day, I would have got in a lot more trouble.
Well, yeah, and listen, everybody knows if you're a kid of the 80s and the 90s, you turned on the Skinamax, you watch Emmanuel, and it'd be all like jumbled up, and you're sitting there at the screen going, "Oh, is that a nipple? Was that a nipple? Was that an ass? What am I watching here?" That was the great times. That's what we had to go through back in the day. That's what we had to go through.
I never cut any pictures out of a catalog like you two did. I can guarantee you that. I just didn't do it.
Maybe you didn't go to good schools. Maybe you didn't go to good schools that wanted to educate you about everything.
I mean, you look at that however you want, JT.
If I had access to I'd be such a degenerate. Okay, I like that one. Was there anything more embarrassing than getting walked in by a parent? Did you guys ever have that happen? Uncle T did. He's just not going to share with us. My grandma walked in on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. She acted like I was in my bed though, and I had the covers up. And like right when I was having a good time, right when it was happening, she walked into my room, and I'm like, "Oh," I don't even know what she asked me. I just remember it was a very uncomfortable situation. And then she just kept talking to me. Like, would not stop talking to me, just constantly talking to me.
He's trying to save you from hell.
It was just if
I keep talking, that thing will go away and he won't go to hell.
That little guy will go away real quick. You keep talking.
Well, we made it halfway.
While we're in here, we have all our boys in chat. All our regular listeners, right? Watchers, what have you. How do we have 39 people watching and 19 likes? You're our people. Like, if there's any show where we should have a 1-to-1, and I just hit it. So we should have more than that. It's very hurtful. Very hurtful.
B-Nair is usually our likes guy. B-Nair, come up with some kind of comment and have everybody make sure they hit the like button. B-Nair is our patrol guy.
Oh, we just went up to 41 since you said talk about the like button. So that's pretty good.
See?
I like that.
See? These are our people. That's what I expect. These are our people. Thank you.
Now we're up to 44. They want to hear us talk about the like button. NBA 15, 15% off your subscription. First payment, NBA 15. If you want to get in at Run Pure Sports, we got the bet side too. That's fun stuff. Good time, good stuff. and then the like button would be amazing. All right, guys, let's talk football because we're halfway through the show and it's finally that time to do so. JT, before we do that, let's recap last week. If you watched the Up to Lock show with me, Mangone, and DC, Big T stopped by right before the end of the show. I was like, I like CJ Stroud. I was like, I like CJ Stroud too. We all built CJ Stroud lineups. He had Noah Brown, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, Trevor.
I mean, neither are we. To be honest, most weeks, neither are we. We never know what the fuck we're going to say for the first 30 minutes. Like, Holden will come on. We'll all jump in here, and he'll be like, anything going on in your life? Anything you want to talk about? And it flows from there. So there you go. Thank you, Trevor.
I'm not even clear. I don't even care about the Texans thing that we built. Everybody had a good time. I think Tony shipped for 100K. This is what? Thoughts on Dobbs against New Orleans. Just got in, had to make dinner. Dude, how about Josh Dobbs walking into the Minnesota locker room, not thinking he's going to have to take a snap? Hall goes down in the first couple of minutes of the game. This guy runs for like 6,000 yards. I don't know if you saw the video. There was a tweet that I think Josh Dobbs put it out there himself, walking into the Vikings locker room after the game. One of the more improbable, remarkable things that you're going to see in the National Football League. JT, I just want to throw this to you first. Uncle T, got to get your thoughts on this, but Josh Dobbs, journeyman, he looked like hell when he was with the Titans this year. Actually had a couple good games with Arizona. That was very, very memorable. Very memorable.
Well, he got the Titans into the playoffs, right? I mean, or he started the playoff game for the Titans,
it was
something
bad.
like that. And he wasn't terrible with Arizona. He had almost no weapon. No, come on. He was
bad. He was bad in the playoffs.
James Conner, sure, of course. But James Conner goes down. He's got Marquise Brown. You've got backup, third string, fourth string running backs, no offensive line. His last game with the Cardinals, he put up 22 fantasy points. So real life, not great, okay, but whatever. To do this, look, the Falcons defense, Grady Jarrett, gone for the season. That's a big loss on the defensive line. This defense is going to be pretty bad the rest of the way. The offensive play calling for Arthur Smith, just nothing I can say about it anymore. And the reality of the Josh Dobbs game is he tried to give the game away to the Falcons. He had a safety. There was a strip sack fumble. And, the Falcons just couldn't do anything with it. He came back and he got righted. And credit to him for sticking in there because the first two drives were not very good, but he stayed with it. And he just hung in the pocket when he had time. And he's like, all right, somebody's open. Boom, I'm going to throw it. Great win for the Vikings. A really bad loss for the Falcons. Arthur Blank, who's the owner of the Falcons, is well known for his loyalty to head coaches, to his staff. It's actually very impressive and a very nice thing. You never heard, though, when Dan Quinn was here, and Dan Quinn was a much more of a personality, a much more likable guy than Arthur Smith is. You never heard when Dan Quinn was here, we got to get rid of Dan Quinn. It was always, well, maybe it's a coordinator. They're in Atlanta calling for Arthur Smith's head, and people are saying, well, we'd love to see that. The reason why Arthur Blank has fired coaches in the past is because there's no hope of the playoffs, and the Falcons are one game out in the NFC South. I think that's the wrong way to do it. I think because they're one game out, and because you've seen now a season and a half of this guy not knowing how to run in offense and having some weapons here, having first-round players that he's just not using, it's time to get rid of this guy. It's probably not going to happen. Terrible loss for the Falcons. Very, very, very nice win for Josh Dobbs and the Vikings.
What do you think here, Uncle T? And by the way, the Saints visiting Minnesota this week. The Saints from a fantasy perspective, 10th in adjusted fantasy points against. So they're kind of tough, but to target. But Dobbs just has the legs, man. And I can't imagine they're not going to say, hey, just go out there and run your ass off and try and stay alive, because that's what worked for him last week.
Yeah, I mean, hearing some of his comments were funny. I mean, I didn't know any of the guys, didn't know any of the plays, just went out there. I mean, Atlanta, after really a promising start to the season, right, JT? They looked pretty good early on in the season, but, I'm not really sure, again, what they're doing down there. Clearly, I'm not saying they're underutilizing or whatever, Bijan, but clearly, I don't know. I don't know if they're using him as a decoy or what, but, I wouldn't want to be an Atlanta Falcon fan right now, and then they go out to Arizona this week, and I can't think of. I mean, that game could have some nice fantasy pieces in it, actually. 42.5 total. But yeah, I'm not sure what Atlanta's doing, JT. It's got to be frustrating for you, but I don't know.
We talked a little bit about this on the Hardwood show last night before we got into NBA, and everyone said, I'm done with Bijan. I'm done with the Falcons. And I laughed at them and I said, not so fast, motherfuckers. The Cardinals are coming to Atlanta this week. You have to at least consider them this week. The prices are down. Look, Arthur Smith is so stubborn, though. I don't even think all this criticism, and maybe it shouldn't for an NFL coach, Holden, right? You shouldn't care what the fans or the media say. What you should care about is the results, though. Is the results that you're not winning football games. You're not able to move the ball. You made a switch at quarterback. To do what? To throw 5 passes behind the line of scrimmage to Geno Smith? That's why you made the fucking switch at quarterback? I mean, is that why you did it? So something has to give. It is a great matchup for running backs, but I just don't know what it is. And we've got, it's not a huge slate. It's a 10-game slate. There's not my first look at the slate, I actually had a little bit more time today than I thought I had. I went through the slate in pretty good depth. I don't see a lot of great spots on the slate. It seems pretty clear cut to me. Tuesday, right? Of course, there'll be injuries and things coming up, but yeah, you do have to consider these guys, and it's going to be clench your a-hole because you don't know what you're going to get.
That game's in Arizona, right, JT, or is it in Atlanta?
I thought it was in Atlanta.
Oh, hold on. It's Arizona. Yeah, I thought it was Arizona, but still, to your point, there's still going to be some pieces in that game I think that we can take. But what do you think, Holden?
We'll get to it. I know Josh Dobbs is from Alpharetta, Georgia, and our guy JT knows where that is. And I know, who was in the chat here saying he's a legit genius in real life? Yeah, Richie Smalls. Dobbs is like a rocket scientist. He could have been a rocket scientist if he wanted to, but he's just a smart guy. And I'm rooting for him. Alpapisha and all, man. Him and Charlie Villanueva, just rooting for him. Yeah. And I really thought JT had alopecia, and he doesn't. It's just your eyebrows don't show up on camera, JT. That's the only thing. Your eyebrows don't show up on camera. It's nothing personal.
Jason Graham, it's because I'm blonde, you bastard. Jason Graham. That's the problem. They did use Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson's getting snaps. It's like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make
Uncle
any sense.
T, did you go back and watch the show last week?
Which show?
Our show.
No.
Good. So
was I supposed to? Did I have homework assignment?
No. I was telling everybody you had the best.
You were mad at us after the show. Tell everybody what you did.
What were you
I
mad
can't
about?
remember. I can't remember what I did last night. How am I going to remember what we did like a week ago? What was I mad at you guys? Well, you guys probably double teamed me and got on me about something, which is normal. But how many people shaving their eyebrows in honor of Dobbs in Minnesota?
Gee, I'll ask you to re-choose. Use a better choice of words moving forward, okay?
You already saw one guy do it? No way, Richie. That's crazy.
I think I saw that same clip. Yeah.
I like Dobbs because he runs. I like that. By the way, he had a monster game before Arizona got rid of him. Okay. I don't know why you just don't hold on to him as your backup. Well, I do because they're tanking. And now they're going to put Kyler Murray out there to tank some more. I don't understand what's going on. That's one of the most dysfunctional franchises. I'll tell you this right now. Arizona and the Bidwells, whether it's the old Bidwells, the Bidwells now, they are in the bottom 5% of sports owners being successful. And the only way they got to the Super Bowl is because Kurt Warner had a revitalization for 2 years and he got him there. It was amazing. Amazing. All right. What are you laughing at?
Chat.
You guys? Okay.
My allergies are killing me. Sorry. I got to keep coughing off the air here.
All right. Let's get quarterbacks here. We got Lamar up top at 8K on DK. He's really not been great. Justin Herbert's 7-7 at home against Detroit, and that defense coming off a bye. Is CJ Stroud really going to put up another, 470 and 5 touchdowns against Cincinnati? No, but I wonder if you guys think that he can. Burrow's been hot, guys, and you could throw on Houston. Burrow's got to be in the mix, and that's why I'm going to go to you first, Uncle T. What are we doing with Joe Burrow this week? Is he just start right away? And then for value, would anybody consider Geno Smith at 5,800, given how bad Washington's secondary is. Uncle T, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week when a lot of the big games were on the primetime games and not on the main slate. Not as bad this week, but we don't have Mahomes, we don't have Hurts, and we don't have Tua. So just a couple of them off the slate this week. But yeah, not as bad as last week. But going up top, you got Lamar Jackson, 8K against Cleveland. I don't necessarily like that matchup for them. 38 total right now. That game is in Baltimore, probably some cold weather. Don't like that at all. There are some big high totals in a couple of these games. I think there's 2 on the early slate, 2 on the late slate that are in the mid to upper 40s, close to 50. So I think there's a couple good games to target. Detroit going out on the coast to Los Angeles will be one of the games that we'll talk about quite a bit here in the last 20 or 25 minutes or so. So Herbert, 7,700. I don't mind him. CJ Stroud, so a couple things here, and I'm going to be pretty quick with this, but 6,900, he's got an elevated, they moved him up a little bit more in price. I'm not chasing the game he did last week for sure. It has nothing to do with him coming into Cincinnati. He could be going into anywhere, and I'd probably be a little less, enthusiastic about playing him. But I do have a lot of interest. You got 6,800 Joe Burrow, and Tampa Bay put up, 35 or 37, 30, whatever it was last week. I think Burrow could be in a great spot here, $6,800. So yes, Holden, I do like Burrow. I'd probably, as far as over 6K, I'd probably go Burrow and Herbert as my top 2 guys, at least, again, looking at this on a Tuesday. Man, you guys talked, I saw JT shaking his head on Geno Smith. Gosh, he looks like he's in a really, really good spot here this week. But boy, he has definitely not looked great the last couple games. But against Washington here, I think you have to have a little bit of interest for sure, right? The total is sitting at 46. That's on the late slate or the late window of games. So yeah, I do like that. And then if you had to go cheap, now again, I think Herbert and Burrow are going to garner definitely some attention up top. If you had to go down cheap, I don't even mind maybe Will Levis, 5,300. You might laugh at it, but he had a really good game 1, not as good a game 2 against Pittsburgh on that Thursday night game. But Tampa Bay, we just talked about it. Stroud just shredded this Tampa Bay defense last week for almost 40 points, as far as game points, and then almost 50 DFS points. So I think Will Levis is at least interesting. It is on the road in Tampa. I don't like that as much. And then Tyler Heineke, even 5,100. He is starting again this week, right? 5,100 in Arizona. So I don't mind that either. I'll let JT get in here with a couple.
All right, let's do it, JT. JT, I did bring up Geno Smith. You were shaking your head. Yes. My big concern about him, 6 picks, 3 fumbles in his last 4 games. Oof, this guy can't hold on to the ball, but he has the matchup from the heavens, JT.
Yeah, look at the games, though. He had to play Cleveland. That game was at home. Had to play on the road in Baltimore. Now he's 5,800 against the Commanders at home with a decent total. So I like him. Lockett's price down, 6,100. Metcalf, 6,800. You've got Walker, who's a little bit banged up, so you don't have a clear running back situation there. I do think that's a good spot. I just first, again, first look here, I'm looking at totals. I'm looking at pricing. Man, I think the San Francisco-Jacksonville game is the absolute fucking nuts this week.
Yes.
I think you look at, first of all, I even think you could play the Jacksonville defense at 2,400. Brock Purdy, 5 interceptions his last 3 games, but the price didn't move on McCaffrey. You do have Debo coming back, so I actually prefer maybe the Trevor Lawrence at 6K, his receivers, Ridley, 5,600. Kirk, 6K. I think Evan Ingram is 4,500. The Niners, not a team you can really run on. So not all that interested in it. Travis Etienne. I just looking at pricing, looking at patterns. The Chargers on a short week coming off a lopsided win over the Jets, who the offensive line couldn't stop anybody. And the Lions coming off I think the Lions smashed the Chargers this week, man. I think you could play Jared Goff. You've got Montgomery coming back. Amon-Ra St. Brown is priced up there, but you looked at the targets. If Zach Wilson had a shred more competence, he would have connected big time with Garrett Wilson, and Wilson would have had a huge day. So even though Amon-Ra's 8,300 right now, he projects as my favorite high-priced my favorite high-priced wide receiver on the slate. The Dallas, in my opinion, don't play the Dallas passing game this week. This is a totally – we'll get to this when we get to running back. But in particular, the Giants with an implied total of 11, which is something I haven't seen in a while. I actually prefer Joe Mixon a little bit over the Cincinnati passing game. I think you can play Chase. You could certainly play Burrow. But, yeah, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, the two quarterbacks in the Jacksonville-San Francisco game. Lamar Jackson did have a great game against the Browns the first time they met, but I think there were some injuries on the defensive line there. Second matchups in division are always a little bit tougher. So I don't think I'll be on Lamar this week.
All right. Coming right back at you, JT, for the running back position. This is an interesting one, too. CMC's 9,200. He's just unstoppable. He scored a touchdown every day for like a year. Then you got Eckler, who scores a touchdown every single week. They're at home against Detroit. Should get some work in a passing game, right? Kamara coming off a rough week. Can we talk about Taysom Hill for a minute? What the hell is going on with this guy? Go look at this guy's game. I didn't realize this till today. I went and looked at Taysom Hill's game log. He's like scoring 20 points a week. He's not a running back, is he? He's not. What do they got him at tight end still?
A tight end from what I'm seeing on
Taysom is tight end at 5,100. Give me a break, man. I guess we need to stop and wait till then. He's got 20 points, 10 points. I mean, this is 20.6, 22.4, 16.8. He's going bananas, but that's tight end. So let me just stay true here. Top shelf running backs, my friend. Where do you want to go there? And you got Montgomery coming back, like you said. Is there anybody down low that you looked at? Keaton Mitchell at 4,700. Just, I'm not interested yet. Because Gus the Bus is still a complete badass.
Yeah. So on Mitchell, great game. A big run in blowout time, right? Garbage time. So no, it's still Gus's job, but it makes you a little bit less interested in Gus and not interested in Keaton, if that makes sense, right? I mean, if they're going to play, I think they're going to play some pretty bad teams the rest of the way. So it just gives, unfortunately, you know how John Harbaugh likes those running back weapons, right? He likes to throw them all out there, and it's probably not a good thing for the Ravens in fantasy moving forward, because now you have this explosive running back that is probably going to take some time away from everybody. In terms of plays this week down low, we just talked about Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards running all over Seattle. Well, Brian Robinson is 5,400. Najee Harris actually got the bulk of the workload last week against the Titans. He's 4,900. And you've got Aaron Jones, who is 6,500. They said they were going to unleash him. They did. Now he gets a matchup against the Steelers, who have been giving up quite a bit of yards on the ground. So I like those guys. Pollard and McCaffrey are two guys who I like. You don't like Pollard, but
I'm not. Listen, I'm just shaking my head more. Like, is it because of the injury he suffered earlier? Because this guy is sharp, man. We've seen how good he is. It just doesn't seem like he's got the burst that he had. Great matchup. Is this finally the week? And it's like every week, JT, we're saying, is this finally the week?
Yeah, I'll say this. I wish he was cheaper than 7,300. I didn't expect the price rise coming off of these performances. So he is up to 7,300. Look, the big concern you have here, the concern you should have, and I'm not saying I'm going to lock in Pollard, right? We're talking about guys with the big concern with the Cowboys, especially at home against the Giants, is how many points are their defense going to score? And what does that mean for their offense? And it probably means that you're not interested in Dak, definitely not interested in CeeDee Lamb. Ferguson's priced up. Maybe you're right, Holden. Maybe we don't look at Pollard here, because if this game gets out of control early, which Vegas expects it to, if you look at the talent on the rosters, you expect it to, then maybe Dallas is a stay away, even with the highest implied total on the slate. But going down, sorry, I didn't mention, I mentioned this when we were talking about quarterback. Joe Mixon, I'll let Uncle T go and give his, because it's probably a lot of the same, and I'll leave out anyone else. We could talk about the Falcons later on. I do think you have to consider that.
Does Mixon go nuts this week, Uncle T?
No, I'm not going to play Mixon. I don't think. I do like a lot of what JT had to say there during the running back segment, though. A lot of the guys he mentioned were guys I was going to talk about. So I like the fact that we're on the same page. But as far as Mixon, 6,200, he's always going to fall in that low 6K range where it feels like he's always a plug and play when you have that salary left in that range. And it's always a tricky play. And as much as I'm a Bengals fan, I just don't think – I mean, I was at the game Sunday night, like you guys know, and I know it was game to game and this. He just – I don't know. I just can't do it, and I'm just being honest. We're talking DFS 1 week. Obviously, I had the big week a couple weeks ago in San Francisco. I'm going to pass on Mixon. I'm going to go another direction. But as far as the plays up top, CMC, I agree with that Jacksonville San Francisco game. I can't imagine that game underwhelming from a defensive standpoint or a DFS standpoint. I can't see a scenario where that game would be 13-10. I may be wrong, but I think that game does shoot out a little bit. So a lot of pieces in that game. Pollard is an interesting one because if you were to tell me back in week 1 and 2 that, here in week 10, he would be 7,300, a 16-point favorite against the Giants for whatever reason, that total would be, or that spread would be 16. We know why now. I'm talking about earlier in the year. I mean, Pollard and the Dallas defense would be something that I'd be interested in. But, man, Pollard has just looked so poor. And I might just try to stay away from this game as much as possible. A 16-point total. I don't necessarily like Pollard, even though he is in a great spot on paper. I think I might pass on that as well. ETN, 7,100. Now, again, that's that same game we were just talking about. ETN has crushed the last 4 weeks, coming off the bye, I believe, right? I don't think Jacksonville played last week, coming off the bye. I like ETN again here. And then we get to a couple games. JT mentioned one of them with the Pittsburgh Green Bay game. You got Warren at 5K and Najee at 4,900. I wish that we didn't have to necessarily choose because both of them are in good spots here against the Green Bay Packers. And then you've got Gibbs and Montgomery coming back in a nice spot in that game against the Chargers. So it'll be interesting to see how the week plays out and what we decide. But Gibbs would have been a lock button if Montgomery wasn't back. And then you mentioned Aaron Jones in that game again against Green Bay. So I like those a lot. One guy you didn't mention, JT, that I don't mind going right back to here this week is Rachaad White. I had a lot of him last week. Seems like he's kind of gotten it together a little bit and fitting into this offense a little bit better. I know he had, I think, 2 rushing touchdowns last week that helped him get there. 20 carries, 73 yards, but he's getting the volume here. And against Tennessee, typically we like to use the receivers against them, but not too bad here recently against the run. So I kind of like Rachaad White at 5.8K. And I think you might have mentioned, did you mention Brian Robinson?
Yeah.
Okay, he was the one guy. I couldn't remember if you mentioned him. I don't mind him either.
All right, guys. So we've done the running back side. If anybody has any questions, please hit us up. We'll be happy to take your questions here. No question about that. And then RPS 15 or NBA 15, either code works. Let's just go NBA 15, 15% off first payment of your subscription. You're missing out if you're not a subscriber. Although I think mostly subscribers are watching the show, to be honest with you. Wide receiver, Uncle T right back at you. Keenan Allen. Chargers hosting Detroit. Maybe they're trailing. Maybe they're not. Jamar Chase with that back injury. I'm telling you right now, if Jamar Chase is out, I don't know. I got to go look up his price. You don't know what I'm going to say. He's a little white guy with the Bengals.
Trenton Irwin. Trenton Irwin
at 3K is your free square this week, dude.
Yeah. I don't mind. I'm not sure what the injury is just yet. I know what the play that happened on was the bomb down the middle of the field where Burrow underthrew him a little bit, or it would have been a 60-yard touchdown. He came up hobbling after that a little bit with it, not hobbling, but with the back there a little bit. And he never actually was quite right the rest of the game. So we'll see how that plays out. But as far as over 8K wide receivers, I just can't see paying up for Keenan Allen here. $8,800. We do like that game environment that we talked about. At least I did quite a bit. I do like that game, but $8,800 feels like that's getting into a range here where, with Eckler back and everything, Quentin Johnston getting a little more of the action a little bit. I think 8.8 is just way too high for Keenan Allen here. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably my best or my favorite spend up over 8K this week. The last 3 weeks, he's got like 35 targets. I mean, he's just getting peppered again, similar to what the spot he was in last year where he crushed. I think he's back to 100%. Love Amonra here above 8K. And then going down a little bit, I agree with both of the Seattle receivers here. Both of them are fine. Metcalf and who's the other guy? Who am I thinking of? Lockett, yeah. I don't play much Lockett, so I didn't have him on my mind. And then the interesting part here, I do like the Cincinnati-Houston game, mostly the Cincinnati side, but, you got a couple of these guys that, elevated price tags from last week a little bit, $300-$400 increases on Nico Collins. I think Tank Dell's a couple $100 more expensive. You got Noah Brown that went off that is, still pretty cheap, but I'm going to avoid, I think, the Houston receiving core. T. Higgins, it was a T. Higgins game the other night, 6,500. If Chase does sit, you're right on the cheap piece there, Holden, but Higgins at 6,500 would be really, really cheap price tag if Chase is out in that game. So keep an eye on that. I always feel like Chris Olave is going to have one of them games from last year where he puts up, say, 25 or 30. He just hasn't shown he's been fine, but he just hasn't shown that real big fantasy game yet. I think it is coming. At least I hope so, because I keep playing him every week. So I don't have, or I like Chris Olave a little bit. And then going down a little bit for cheap, you got the Jacksonville receivers, Kirk at 6K, and now Ridley's all the way down to 5.6K. So I'll probably have access to both of those guys, but Ridley at 5.6 feels really, really cheap here in this matchup. And then I'll give you a couple cheap guys all the way down low. Jahan Dotson, 5K. He's been good. He's been good the last couple of weeks. And then I got one guy way down there, our boy Smith and Jigba, JSN against Washington. He's only 4,100. He's still pretty cheap in that game where I do think there's going to be some points scored. So I got some other guys here, but I don't want to take them all. Let JT kind of get his takes.
JT, besides for Trent Irwin, there was one other guy I wanted to mention with Jonathan Mingo. He ran as many routes as Adam Thielen, but he's on Thursday night, so it doesn't matter. And then Odell Beckham, who I rostered at 1.1%. I think he's a FanDuel only play. He's tied with Mark Andrews for the most end zone targets on the Ravens with 5. So it's a couple deep dives there. JT, what do you got at wide receiver?
Yeah, I'll just focus on some of the ones that Uncle T didn't mention. Let me touch on the Atlanta situation, because if Drake London is out again, the reason why I think you have to consider Bijan and maybe even Tyler Algier and Pitts again is because this is a team that just runs. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. You saw that against Minnesota, a team that you really can't run on very well. They don't care. Well, Arizona is the absolute best matchup for opposing running backs. And they're going to run the ball 30 times. You don't know who it's going to be that's going to run the ball 30 times. So I would definitely have them at some percentage in my lineups if I was multi-entering. Bijan, Tyler, is probably those guys. That's my take on those guys. Deontay Johnson is back to being an absolute target monster. 5,400 is a pretty nice price for him against Green Bay. You have Marquise Brown with Kyler Murray back. And look, AJ Terrell and this defense for the Falcons haven't been stopping much of anything. So 5,200 is not a bad price for him. I like the receivers, particularly Mike Evans at 7,200 for the Bucs against the Tennessee Titans. And then one guy, obviously DeAndre Hopkins for Tennessee. We saw, the Buccaneers just give up 470 yards passing, 470 yards receiving, whatever it is. Hopkins, but they kind of bottled up Nico Collins. He didn't have the big day. It was everybody else on the team. So Kyle Phillips got 5 targets last week. He is flat 3K for the Titans with Treylon Burks out. You want to play Amon-Ra. You want to play McCaffrey. He's a guy that maybe helps you be able to spend up in a couple of other spots. So Kyle Phillips at 3K.
We're down to our final position here that we're going to talk about. I just want you to start talking about Taysom Hill, JT.
So
at this point,
it's kind of the reason why as I was looking at the slate, it's kind of the reason why I can't really play anybody else on the Saints at their prices. I don't think he can play Derek Carr because he's coming in and they're using him more and in different ways than Sean Payton did. It seems like he's getting more snaps, he's getting more attempts to throw, he's getting more rushes, he's getting more. He's getting a little bit of everything, such that 5,100 in a spot where the tight ends do well generally against the Vikings. Yeah, I don't have a problem with him, but if I'm playing Taysom Hill, he's the only guy that I'm playing for the New Orleans Saints. It's kind of a low total too.
Do you like him in general going forward though? Like for consistent, just consistent points at a cheap price at tight end.
He's been consistent. He has another big week, this is not enough likes. I don't know. That's true. That's true, Trevor Bryant. But he has another big week or two, and then he's going to be in the 7K range, and you're not going to be able to use him. That's the way this goes. But at 5,100, I'd consider him just because tight end is always such a crapshoot. But on this slate, Dalton Schultz is playing that matchup against Cincinnati that all tight ends seem to do well. It's really the only position that does well recently against the Bengals. He's, I think, 40-something hundred. He's really the only pass catcher for the Texans that I'd be interested in. And then, you mentioned Hill, Juwan Johnson. Okongwu for Tennessee is 3K. We saw how Dalton Schultz scored a ton of points, got a ton of targets, a couple of touchdowns against the Bucs. The Titans don't really have any pass catchers. They've got Hopkins, and then it's, Phillips, it's Okongwu. Everyone else is kind of injured. They do some weird stuff. They play slow. So 3K is a fine price there. You do have Andrews at 6,900 against the Browns, but I don't know. That seems like it's going to be tough to fit on this slate. We'll see.
Uncle T, I'm going to go to you, Taysom Hill. It's in your family's blood. You interested?
Yeah, I don't mind him. He's clearly getting up there, in price a little bit from what he was in the low to mid 3Ks here not too long ago. I agree with JT. 5,100 still is in a spot where I don't know. I agree too, though, that you don't want to take a couple pieces of this offense. There's just not enough volume to go around. Low total. They haven't really been scoring many points, so I don't mind it. I'd rather try to find the money and go up to Sam Laporta at 5,700. Again, I know I've mentioned just a couple of the games in most of these plays, but the Chargers don't do the greatest job. Last night I thought, as bad as the Jets were, I thought Conklin had a couple of spots to get a couple big completions in that game, especially late. And, you had Holden basically throwing to him. Zach Wilson is just awful. So I don't mind Laporta in that game.
Mean. That was a dick.
And then, Schultz, coming off that big week, 4,900 now for Dalton Schultz. Can't see paying that price tag. JT, I thought he was going to get by without mentioning Okongwu. I had him definitely on my list here. It's a flat 3K. Yeah, a flat 3K. I don't mind him at all. But, real quick, too, going up top, I don't think you hit on either Andrews or Kittle. I think depending on our build, seeing what kind of, value opens up between now and Sunday, I think we could probably utilize one of these two guys. But right now on Tuesday night, I don't think I'll be using either one of them.
I left Kittle out only because Deebo Samuel was at practice yesterday. They said he was there, but it's a great point. If Deebo misses again, then it's probably going to be Kittle and McCaffrey that you want from that offense.
That's it. We're done, huh?
Yeah, I think real quick, Holden. Sorry to interrupt you. I think JT, you mentioned a couple defenses in the chat. I do like the Cincinnati. When you were talking in that last segment, I was looking at defenses, and again, while Stroud is really good and such, I think the guys off the edges for the Bengals, both Hubbard and Hendry, I think they could get to Stroud here, maybe cause a couple turnovers, maybe a pick six or so. I do like the Bengals defense a little bit here in this matchup.
Outside of one game against Jacksonville, Houston has been bad on the road. They lost in Carolina. I looked it up earlier. So I especially coming off the big game, I think they'll get some of those guys are going to get ownership. And I like in particular the leverage that the Cincinnati defense provides.
Leverage action, baby. Leverage action.
Leverage is always good, Holden. Even if your grandma walks in on you at the wrong time, sometimes
I didn't have any leverage on my grandma in that instance. But
you're talking about when you're underneath the covers there.
For Uncle T and JT, do you have anything that's not nonsensical that you'd like to leave the show with?
Yeah.
Maybe a closing comment.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it's been fun, and there he is.
I haven't changed a bit in 25 years.
You look good.
We'll see you guys on the NBA Hardwood 4:45 on Friday.